Step back millions of years and witness the daily struggles and survival of our early ancestors. In this story, we follow a Homo habilis couple navigating the dangers, discoveries, and simple joys of the Stone Age. Experience history not from books, but through the lives of those who lived it. Life for Homo habilis during the Stone Age was a constant struggle for survival, a relentless cycle of seeking food, avoiding predators, and navigating the harsh landscapes that stretched endlessly before them. Each day began with the cautious awakening in the safety of a crude shelter, often a shallow cave or a protected nook among rocks and dense vegetation. The couple, like all early humans, was acutely aware that the night could bring not just the cold and darkness, but predators that moved silently through the shadows. The male would often stand watch while the female tended to small, scattered embers of a fire, ensuring that any smoldering sparks could reignite if necessary, for fire was not just warmth, it was protection, a tool for cooking, and a beacon of safety. The waking hours were filled with observation of the surroundings, listening for distant roars, sniffing the wind for unfamiliar scents, and noting the movement of animals nearby. Survival demanded constant vigilance, and the couple had learned that their very lives depended on the smallest attentions to detail. Their diet was dictated not by preference, but by availability, and every foraging expedition was an exercise in patience, knowledge, and cooperation. The female, adept at recognizing edible plants, roots, and berries, would often lead small forays into the surrounding terrain, carefully selecting items that were nutritious and safe to eat. She had developed a remarkable memory for the locations of specific plants, recalling which patches had been fruitful in previous seasons and which had been exhausted. The male, on the other hand, focused on procuring protein, employing the early tools that his species had begun to fashion. These tools, simple though they were, represented a significant leap in cognitive and motor skills. Stones chipped to a sharp edge could cut through tough hides, break bones to extract marrow, or even help in crafting other implements. Hunting was never simple. It was dangerous, requiring stealth, patience, and often a willingness to retreat if the prey proved too formidable. Each successful hunt brought not only nourishment, but also the reinforcement of social bonds, as sharing meat strengthened trust and cooperation within the couple. The couple's understanding of their environment was honed through experience over years of trial and error. They knew which areas teemed with game, and which were likely to harbor hidden dangers. Water sources were sacred, and approaching them required caution, as predators often lurked nearby. The rhythms of nature dictated their movements. The changing position of the sun, the patterns of seasonal rainfall, and the migration habits of animals all informed their strategies. Knowledge passed silently between them through gestures, shared glances, and subtle signals, for spoken language had not yet fully developed. Their survival depended on an almost telepathic synchronization, a deep attunement to each other's needs and instincts. Shelter, though rudimentary, was essential for survival. The couple had learned to select sites that offered natural protection from wind and rain, and in some cases, they would use fallen branches, leaves, and animal hides to create simple coverings. The construction of these shelters was a task of both ingenuity and endurance. Each decision, from the orientation of the structure to the placement of stones to secure its base, was weighed against potential threats and environmental conditions. Fire maintained carefully throughout the day and night extended their ability to occupy these shelters safely. It provided warmth, light, and a means to cook certain foods, rendering them more digestible and sometimes safer from parasites or pathogens. Fire was also a deterrent to predators, and its presence symbolized a fragile dominion over the natural world that was otherwise indifferent to human life. Predators were a constant concern, shaping almost every aspect of their daily existence. Large cats, hyenas, and other carnivores roamed the same territories, and the Homo habilis couple had to be perpetually alert to the faintest signs of danger. Tracks in the mud, broken twigs, distant growls, all were cues to the presence of threats. Their response required both caution and strategy. Rushing headlong into danger could be fatal, yet hesitation could mean missing the opportunity to secure food. Over time, they learned to read these signs with remarkable accuracy, interpreting subtle environmental changes as indicators of life or death. Cooperation was essential, as one could distract a predator while the other fled or retrieved necessary tools. Their survival was never a solitary endeavor, but a shared effort, demanding trust, communication, and unwavering attention to the world around them. The daily routine was punctuated by moments of tension and relief. Even the simple act of gathering food could trigger adrenaline, as a rustle in the underbrush might indicate a predator or a rival group of humans. Each successful hunt or foraging excursion was a temporary reprieve from the omnipresent pressures of life. These successes reinforced behaviors and strategies, shaping the couple's understanding of risk, timing, and resource management. Over time, patterns emerged. Specific hunting grounds, favored plants, and safe resting sites were revisited again and again, forming a map of survival etched into memory. Physical endurance was another crucial component. Walking long distances, climbing rocky terrain, and carrying heavy loads of gathered food demanded strength, stamina, and resilience. Injuries could easily become fatal if they prevented foraging or escape, so cautious movement and careful attention to the body's signals were critical. Rest periods were brief and strategically timed, often during the hottest parts of the day or when predators were least active. Nutrition, though inconsistent, was a guiding force behind every decision. The couple constantly balanced immediate needs with long-term survival, conserving energy while maximizing opportunities for sustenance. Social and emotional factors also played an underappreciated role in survival. The bond between the two individuals provided mutual support, both physically and psychologically. Companionship mitigated the stress of constant vigilance and provided motivation to continue in the face of adversity. Even in the absence of fully developed language, gestures, eye contact, and shared routines facilitated cooperation. Moments of shared laughter or simple satisfaction after a successful hunt strengthened the connection, ensuring that each was invested not just in their own survival, but in the survival of the other. The landscape itself was both a resource and a challenge. Dense forests offered concealment for predators and prey alike, while open plains provided opportunities for spotting game, but increased vulnerability. Seasonal changes brought varying challenges, from droughts that dried water sources to storms that could destroy shelters. The Homo habilis couple learned to adapt to these fluctuations, storing knowledge of which plants could endure dry periods, which locations offered refuge from storms, and which areas were safe for extended foraging. This adaptive intelligence, honed over countless generations, was the foundation of their ability to persist in an unforgiving world. Each night, as darkness enveloped their shelter, the couple reflected the rhythms of their survival back into the universe. They had made it through the day, but the next day would bring new challenges, new opportunities, and new dangers. Sleep was always cautious, punctuated by the occasional stir to check the fire or listen for disturbances, for the world beyond the safety of their shelter was unpredictable and often hostile. The repetition of this cycle, wake, forage, hunt, return, rest, was the essence of life in the Stone Age, a continuous interplay of risk and reward, knowledge and instinct, cooperation and courage. Every action, no matter how small, was informed by the immediate need to survive. Selecting the right stone for a cutting tool, choosing the optimal path through the forest, timing the approach to a water source, or even deciding when to rest versus when to move. All of these were critical decisions. Mistakes could lead to injury or death, yet successes reinforced behaviors that would be passed on to the next generation. In this way, life for Homo habilis was not merely existence. It was an ongoing experiment in adaptation, a continuous negotiation with an environment that was both bountiful and brutal. The development and use of tools by early humans like Homo habilis represented a transformative step in the story of survival, allowing them to manipulate the environment in ways that other animals could not. Their tools were simple yet remarkably effective, primarily fashioned from stone, bone, and wood, each shaped carefully to serve a particular purpose. Unlike later humans, Homo habilis did not have metal or advanced construction techniques, but their understanding of the natural properties of materials allowed them to select, shape, and employ implements that dramatically increased their ability to hunt, gather, and process food. Stones with naturally sharp edges were often the first choice, and through repeated experimentation and observation, They learned to strike these stones in specific ways to produce sharper flakes and more efficient cutting surfaces. This process was not trivial. It required patience, coordination, and a mental map of cause and effect, as striking the wrong angle could shatter the stone entirely. Homo habilis' use of tools extended far beyond cutting. They were employed to dig roots, pry open termite mounds, crack bones from marrow, and scrape hides from carcasses. Each tool had a specific function, and their effectiveness relied on careful preparation and consistent maintenance. The couple would often select stones from riverbeds or outcrops, choosing those with natural hardness and symmetry. Once chosen, a series of deliberate strikes would create a sharp edge or point, transforming a simple rock into a powerful instrument of survival. This was not merely a mechanical process. It demanded attention, judgment, and learning from repeated trial and error. Mistakes could cost time, energy, or even safety if a dull or improperly shaped tool failed during a hunt. Hunting with these tools was a complex interplay of observation, strategy, and physical skill. Homo habilis could not rely on brute strength alone. They were neither the fastest nor the strongest predators in their environment. Instead, they employed tactics that leveraged intelligence, patience, and the sharpness of their implements. Small game, such as birds, rodents, or reptiles, might be captured through stealth and quick strikes, using sharpened sticks or stones. For larger animals, they relied on group coordination, waiting near watering holes or game trails, ambushing prey, or driving them toward natural traps such as cliffs or thorny thickets. The process was slow and meticulous, with each step guided by an intimate knowledge of animal behavior, wind patterns, terrain, and timing. Foraging, though less dramatic than hunting, required equal skill and careful planning. Early humans learned to distinguish between edible and toxic plants, memorize seasonal growth patterns, and recall the locations of the most fruitful areas. The female often led these expeditions, demonstrating an acute ability to read the landscape for signs of ripening fruits, underground tubers, and other nutritional resources. Tools were adapted to these tasks as well. Digging sticks fashioned from strong branches could extract roots hidden beneath layers of soil, while stones might be used to crack open tough seed pods or nuts. Even water collection demanded ingenuity, with hollowed-out bark or natural containers used to transport liquid from streams to shelter. Beyond mere survival, the use of tools opened new avenues for creativity and adaptation. Homo habilis began experimenting with multi-purpose tools, combining stone edges with wooden handles, for example, to extend reach or leverage. This experimentation represents one of the earliest forms of technological innovation, a gradual refinement of materials and techniques over generations. The act of observing, modifying, and improving tools fostered cognitive development, as each improvement required foresight, planning, and an understanding of cause and effect. Over time, the cumulative knowledge of these practices allowed Homo habilis to expand into new environments, exploiting resources that would have been inaccessible without the aid of tools. The process of learning to make and use tools was also deeply social. Even in the absence of complex language, observation and imitation allowed younger individuals to acquire skills from more experienced members of their group. The couple, in particular, would have relied on mutual teaching and guidance, signaling when a strike needed adjustment, demonstrating digging techniques, or showing the correct way to peel bark or crack bone. This transfer of knowledge was essential, as each generation built upon the previous one, gradually improving the efficiency and variety of tools available. In this way, the survival of the species was intertwined with the accumulation of practical knowledge and technological skill. Hunting and foraging were not solitary activities, but often involved careful coordination. The couple needed to communicate their intentions, plan movements, and anticipate the actions of both prey and predators. Tools facilitated these interactions by allowing silent signals or quick demonstrations. A sharp stick placed strategically could indicate where to strike, while a particular stone could signify the readiness to hunt or dig. Such coordination improved the likelihood of success, reducing risk and increasing the reliability of acquiring food. Over time, these practices reinforced trust and interdependence between partners, as each understood the capabilities and limitations of the other, recognizing that survival depended not just on individual skill but on collaborative execution. The environments in which Homo habilis lived were varied and often harsh, from open savannas to rocky outcrops and dense forests. Each environment required tailored strategies and specialized tools. In open plains, hunting large game might necessitate the creation of snares, traps, or coordinated drives, while forested areas demanded stealth, camouflage, and precision strikes with sharpened stones or sticks. The couple would have adapted their techniques to the landscape, experimenting with timing, routes, and methods until effective patterns emerged. Observation of animal behavior was central to this adaptation, as understanding migration patterns, feeding habits, and predator-prey dynamics allowed for more efficient planning and execution. Food preservation, though rudimentary, was another critical aspect of their techniques. Freshly hunted meat might be hidden, dried in the sun, or smoked over embers to extend its usability. Similarly, gathered plant materials could be stored in natural containers or buried to protect them from scavengers. These practices reflect an early understanding of delayed consumption, a cognitive leap that allowed Homo habilis to plan beyond the immediate moment, balancing current needs against future scarcity. Tools played a vital role in these processes, from cutting and scraping to creating storage solutions, demonstrating the interconnectedness of technology and survival strategy. Injuries and mishaps during hunting and foraging were frequent, and tools again proved essential in mitigating their consequences. A sharpened stone could create bandages by cutting strips of hide, or strip bark for splints. The ability to adapt and repurpose implements for care and repair highlights the ingenuity of early humans, for survival demanded flexibility and problem-solving under pressure. Pain, fatigue, and the threat of infection were constant companions, yet the knowledge and proper use of tools allowed the couple to navigate these dangers, increasing their odds of continued survival. Even the simple act of transportation was facilitated by tools. Carrying gathered food, firewood, or water required innovation. Branches might be tied together to create primitive baskets or slings, stones used to weigh down bundles, and fire embers carefully contained for relocation. Each movement demanded planning and foresight, as dropping or losing resources could mean hunger or exposure. The integration of tools into these daily practices created a system of survival that was not only physical, but also cognitive, a network of cause and effect understanding that shaped every choice. The life of a Homo habilis couple during the Stone Age was shaped not only by the harsh demands of survival, but also by the profound and intricate web of social bonds that bound them together. While hunting, foraging, and tool-making were essential for sustenance, it was the emotional and social connections that ensured resilience, cooperation, and the continuation of their lineage. From the moment they awoke in the dim light of their shelter, their interactions were guided by mutual dependence, subtle communication, and an intuitive understanding of one another's needs. The couple had developed a rhythm to their lives, a silent choreography informed by experience, observation, and instinct, allowing them to navigate the dangers and opportunities of their environment with a shared sense of purpose. Social bonds began with the recognition of mutual reliance. Each individual understood that survival was not an isolated endeavor. The presence, skills, and judgment of the partner directly influenced outcomes. This interdependence manifested in countless ways, from the division of labor during foraging expeditions to cooperative hunting strategies. While one member scouted or distracted prey, the other would strike or secure the catch. These tasks demanded not only physical coordination, but also an emotional trust, the confidence that the partner would act predictably, responsibly, and skillfully. Over time, this trust deepened into a form of attachment, a bond that transcended immediate survival and became the foundation for family life. Family, in this early context, was not defined by formal structures or societal rules, but by the daily practice of care, teaching, and shared responsibility. The couple's interactions were punctuated by gestures of reassurance, cooperation, and protection. They would share the spoils of a successful hunt, or the bounty of gathered roots and berries, not merely for sustenance, but as a reinforcement of loyalty and mutual investment. Food sharing, in particular, had profound social significance. By distributing resources, they demonstrated trust, reinforced bonds, and ensured that both members were physically capable of contributing to ongoing survival. Communication played a central role in nurturing these social bonds. Though spoken language was in its nascent stages, the couple had developed a sophisticated system of vocalizations, gestures, facial expressions, and touch. A slight shift of the head, the raising of an eyebrow, or a brief hand movement could convey instructions, warnings, or reassurance. Over time, this nonverbal language allowed them to coordinate complex tasks without the need for elaborate speech, ensuring efficiency and safety. Even in moments of rest, subtle cues maintained connection, a shared glance while resting near the fire, the gentle passing of a stone or tool, or the touch of a hand across the shoulder, all reinforced their partnership. The emotional dimensions of their relationship were equally critical. Fear, frustration, relief, and joy were experienced collectively, creating a feedback loop that strengthened social cohesion. When faced with predators or environmental hazards, the presence of a trusted companion could calm panic and guide rational action. Conversely, moments of shared success, such as the capture of a difficult prey or the discovery of a new edible plant, elicited shared excitement, reinforcing positive associations and encouraging continued collaboration. These emotional exchanges, though subtle, were fundamental to survival, as stress could impair judgment and reduce the efficiency of coordinated efforts. Reproduction and care for offspring were central elements of family life, demanding yet reinforcing social bonds. The couple's attentiveness extended beyond themselves to potential children, who represented both hope and vulnerability. Preparing for offspring involved anticipating future needs, securing safe shelter, and ensuring sufficient resources. Once children were born, their survival depended entirely on the adults' cooperation. The couple shared responsibilities, from carrying infants during foraging trips to teaching them early survival skills. Observation and imitation were key to learning. Children watched the careful crafting of tools, the stealthy approach to prey, and the cautious selection of edible plants. Through this process, they absorbed not only practical skills, but also the social norms and cooperative behaviors essential to group cohesion. Rituals and repetitive patterns of behavior also strengthened bonds. Daily routines, tending the fire, sharpening tools, foraging, and hunting, became shared rituals that reinforced familiarity, predictability, and trust. These routines created a sense of order and security within the unpredictable landscape of the Stone Age. Even simple acts, such as the preparation of food or the arrangement of sleeping areas, were imbued with social significance, reflecting care, attentiveness, and mutual respect. The regularity of these practices fostered emotional stability and reinforced the identity of the couple as a cohesive unit. The surrounding social environment extended beyond the immediate pair, often including other Homo habilis individuals or neighboring groups. Interactions with others required negotiation, communication, and sometimes competition. Social bonds within the pair provided a foundation for broader group cohesion, enabling cooperative hunting, sharing of knowledge, and protection against external threats. Trust and loyalty within the couple were mirrored in interactions with the wider group, as successful collaboration depended on reliable partnerships and the ability to interpret subtle social cues. Early humans learned to balance individual needs with collective goals, a skill that would have profound implications for the evolution of social structures in future generations. Conflict management was another critical aspect of social life. Even within a small group, disagreements could arise over food, territory, or reproductive opportunities. The couple's ability to navigate these tensions relied on a combination of communication, physical signaling, and emotional regulation. They had learned to recognize the early signs of frustration or aggression and to respond in ways that minimized risk and maintained harmony. Cooperation often required negotiation, patience, and compromise, skills that reinforced both the immediate survival of the pair and the stability of the group. Shared experiences of hardship further deepened social bonds. Scarcity of food, harsh weather, and predator encounters were not merely individual challenges, but collective trials. Facing adversity together fostered resilience, mutual understanding, and a sense of interdependence. Over time, these shared struggles became a source of identity and pride, reinforcing the couple's commitment to one another and to the broader social network. In this sense, the challenges of the Stone Age were not only physical, but profoundly social, shaping behaviors, relationships, and emotional development. Play and exploration also contributed to social and cognitive development. While survival demanded focus, moments of leisure allowed for experimentation, skill building, and emotional bonding. Play might involve mock hunting, tool experimentation, or simple games of chasing and evasion. These activities strengthened coordination, problem-solving abilities, and creativity, while simultaneously reinforcing trust and intimacy within the couple. Children, in particular, benefited from observation and participation, learning essential survival skills through imitation and guided practice. Care for the elderly or injured members of the group reflected another dimension of social bonds. Life in the Stone Age was perilous, and those unable to contribute effectively still received attention and protection. This care strengthened social cohesion and ensured that knowledge, skills, and traditions were passed on. The couple themselves, aware of their vulnerability, developed strategies for mutual support that balanced immediate survival with long-term resilience. Over time, these patterns of cooperation, communication, and shared responsibility formed the foundation for increasingly complex social structures. Emotional bonds facilitated trust, reduced conflict, and encouraged collaborative problem-solving. Family life, rooted in mutual care and attachment, provided both stability and continuity, ensuring that knowledge and skills were transmitted across generations. The interplay between practical survival tasks and social cohesion illustrates how deeply intertwined daily life and relationships were in the Stone Age, shaping not only immediate outcomes, but the evolutionary trajectory of early humans.